Ever feel like your brain's kind of like running on dial-up, when it should be? Like fiber optic.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I get that.
Well, get ready, because we're diving deep into mental decluttering today, figuring out how to ditch that whole too much to think about feeling.
Sounds right up my alley.
We've got a cool mix of sources for this deep dive.
Yeah.
A blog post on brain dumping, and it even touches on bullet journaling, which is interesting.
Okay.
Then there's this app, Declutter the Mind, and another blog post. But this one's all about gratitude meditation.
Ooh, interesting combination. I'm curious to see where this goes.
Me too. So the mission here is to equip you, dear listener, with some seriously practical tools, to de-stress and finally unlock that mental clarity we're all after.
I think everyone can relate to that.
Right. Okay, let's jump right in with this brain dump idea.
Okay.
The blog makes it sound so simple, like ridiculously easy. Just grab a notebook, set a timer, I think they said for like 5 to 10 minutes, and just write.
Just let it all flow out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No filter, no judgment, just pure mental purging.
It's fascinating because it's more than just venting. Think of it as hitting save on a massive file. You know, the one your brain's been struggling to keep open.
Ah, that's a good analogy.
You free up all those cognitive resources, the ones that were getting bogged down by, well, all that mental clutter.
So it's not just about feeling like less stressed. It's actually about helping our brains function better.
Exactly. There is actually research on this. Decluttering your thoughts leads to better decisions, increased focus. You can even reduce everyday anxiety. Imagine trying to solve some complex problem with 100 tabs open on your computer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Closing those unnecessary tabs, that's basically a brain dump. Lets you focus on what actually matters.
The blog mentioned doing a brain dump either first thing in the morning or in the evening.
Huh. Interesting.
I guess it kind of depends on your personality, right? Are you a clear the decks before starting or a process the day before bed type?
That makes sense. Figuring out your personal rhythm is key. And get this, the blog even has free printable layouts. Yeah, to help organize your brain dumps, it's all about making it easy and accessible.
I love that. So, okay, say we've purged all those thoughts onto paper. What then?
Good question.
This blog I mentioned, it talks about picking like 3 key tasks from your brain dump, the ones to prioritize.
Ah, makes sense.
The idea is to not get lost in that massive to-do list we just created.
Right. Prioritization is essential. Stops you from feeling overwhelmed. It's like choosing the scenic route instead of getting lost in a maze of back roads.
Ooh, I like that visual.
You're focusing on what absolutely needs to get done, creates a clear path forward, reduces stress, and actually boosts productivity.
And here's where things get interesting. The blog post connects this idea of prioritizing with, wait for it, gratitude practice.
Oh.
Yeah. They suggest like taking a few minutes to just list things you're grateful for. And get this, they claim it leads to better sleep, a stronger immune system, all kinds of amazing stuff.
It's intriguing because it's not just anecdotal. There's a ton of research on this, real science, backing up the impact gratitude has on our well-being, both mental and physical.
No way. That's awesome.
Like, do you know studies have shown that people who practice gratitude regularly, they tend to experience lower stress hormones, and they report feeling more optimistic and resilient?
Wow. Okay, before we move on, let's take a quick pause here. Everyone listening, think of 3 things, big or small, you're genuinely grateful for right now.
Yeah, could be anything, really.
Like a delicious cup of coffee,
Yeah.
the support of your loved ones, even the fact that you're alive and breathing.
It's the little things sometimes.
Totally. Hold on to that feeling because we're about to explore how guided meditation can amplify the power of gratitude.
That's where our second source comes in, the app, Declutter the Mind. They have a guided meditation specifically for gratitude.
Oh, cool.
And it's only 10 minutes long, so even if you're super busy, you can fit it in.
Okay, but for someone who's like never tried guided meditation, what does it even mean?
Imagine a personal trainer, but for your mind. So there's a guide, often using calming visuals or music. They gently lead you through a mental journey, designed to bring stillness and peace.
Oh, okay.
It's like a mental massage, helps you release tension, quiet all that constant chatter in your thoughts.
Sounds amazing. And the Declutter the Mind app, it combines that with gratitude.
Exactly. It's a powerful combo because it tackles mental clutter on 2 levels. First, the meditation quiets the monkey mind,
Yeah.
creates space for positive emotions to, come up. Then the gratitude part encourages you to focus on those good aspects, making them even stronger,
Hmm.
fosters a sense of contentment.
I was just reading that blog post about gratitude meditation, and they describe it as a super immersive experience. Like you sit comfortably, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and the guide, they gently lead you to visualize things you appreciate. Could be anything, the warmth of the sun, the smile of someone you love, even the sound of rain.
Anything that evokes a genuine feeling of gratitude.
Exactly.
It's about bringing those feelings to life, savoring them, letting them fill you up. And by combining this with the brain dump, you create this powerful synergy, clearing out the negative and making room for the positive to flourish.
So far we've got brain dumps for decluttering and guided gratitude meditation for boosting positivity. But I'm kind of curious about the science behind guided meditation. Like what's actually happening in our brains when we do it?
That's a great question. It's an area of ongoing research, but what we're finding is super fascinating. Studies suggest that guided meditation, especially when you practice it regularly, can actually lead to structural and functional changes in the brain.
You mean it's not just about feeling good in the moment, it's actually changing our brains for the better?
Precisely. Research shows that meditation can increase gray matter in areas of the brain associated with focus, emotional regulation, even compassion. And it can shrink the amygdala, the part responsible for fear and stress responses.
So it's like a mental workout, de-stressing us A&D, strengthening our focus, our emotional management, even cultivating more empathy and compassion.
That's right. And what's remarkable is how accessible guided meditation is. Apps like Declutter the Mind make it easy to fit into your routine. You can do it anywhere, anytime, on your commute, lunch break, even before bed.
Speaking of Declutter the Mind, let's talk about their specific gratitude meditation. The blog mentioned they have a 10-minute session perfect for beginners. What can someone expect during those 10 minutes?
Well, the specific content might be different depending on the guide, but generally, a gratitude meditation encourages you to focus on what you appreciate in life. Might involve visualizations, gentle prompts to think about things you're grateful for, or even just noticing your breath and appreciating the simple fact that you're alive.
It's like taking a mental inventory of all the good stuff, right? From the everyday things like a warm shower or a delicious meal to the truly profound stuff, like the love and support of family and friends.
Exactly. The key is to really savor those feelings of gratitude. Let yourself feel that warmth, joy, contentment that comes with appreciating the abundance in your life.
And if you practice this regularly, you're basically training your brain to focus on the positive. That can have a huge impact on your overall well-being. It's like shifting your perspective from one of lack to one of abundance and possibility.
That shift in perspective is incredibly powerful, helps you navigate challenges with more resilience, build stronger, more meaningful relationships, and ultimately experience a deeper sense of contentment and fulfillment in every part of your life.
Before we move on to decluttering beyond the mind in part 2, is there anything else we should consider about using brain dumps and gratitude meditation to clear mental clutter based on these sources?
Let me think. Welcome back to our deep dive on decluttering. Last time we were exploring how brain dumps and guided meditation, especially those focused on gratitude, can help clear mental clutter.
It's amazing how much lighter you can feel after just a few minutes of, focused mental decluttering. But we're not stopping there. Today, we're going beyond just our thoughts into decluttering our physical spaces, our commitments, even relationships, all those things that weigh us down without us realizing it.
It's like spring cleaning for your whole life.
I love that.
We're making space. Physically, mentally, A&D, emotionally, so we can really focus on what truly matters.
Yeah, it's about being intentional with our energy and our time. Because honestly, life gets so busy, we accumulate clutter without even noticing.
Oh, absolutely.
We hold on to things, whether it's that drawer full of old gadgets or outdated beliefs that just don't serve us anymore.
It's like carrying around a backpack full of rocks. You might not even realize how much it's weighing you down until you take it off. And then, suddenly you can stand up straighter, breathe deeper, move with more ease.
Okay, but where do we even begin with this whole life decluttering project? It sounds kind of daunting.
I get that. It can feel overwhelming if you try to tackle everything at once. That's why it's super important to approach it with self-compassion and break it down into smaller steps. There's no one-size-fits-all. It's all about finding what works for you and your specific situation.
So let's start with something concrete, physical clutter. I know for me, when my apartment's a mess, my mind feels cluttered too, like the chaos spills over into my mental space.
There's definitely a link between our physical environment and our mental state. A cluttered space makes us feel stressed, anxious, even overwhelmed. Like our surroundings are constantly reminding us there's too much to do, manage, think about.
And on the flip side, when our space is clean,
Yeah.
organized, it can be so calming, clarifying, like we can finally breathe and think clearly.
Exactly. Decluttering our physical spaces can be incredibly liberating. It's not just about getting rid of stuff, it's about creating a sense of order and harmony that extends inward. And it doesn't have to be this huge overnight transformation.
So, like, what are some baby steps for someone who's totally overwhelmed by the idea of tackling their physical clutter?
Start small. Don't try to declutter your whole house this weekend. Pick one tiny area, a drawer, a shelf, even just a corner of a room. Set a timer for like 15 minutes. See how much you can let go of in that time.
That's a great tip. Makes the whole thing seem way more manageable. And I bet as you start seeing those small wins, it creates momentum to keep going.
Absolutely. And as you declutter your physical space, you might be surprised to find that it makes you want to declutter other areas of your life too, like a domino effect. One positive change can trigger a bunch of others.
Okay, so physical clutter tackled. What's next on the whole life decluttering agenda?
Commitments. Are there activities, obligations that are just draining you without bringing any real joy or fulfillment?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's so easy to get caught up in the shoulds and have-tos of life. We feel obligated to say yes to everything, even when it means sacrificing our well-being.
And that's where setting boundaries is so important. Learning to say NO to things that don't match our values, our goals, so we can say yes to the things that really matter. Prioritizing our needs, making sure we're not overcommitting ourselves to the point of exhaustion.
How do we even start identifying those commitments that are no longer serving us? We can get so used to autopilot, we don't even realize how much we're sacrificing.
One helpful exercise is to look at your calendar, like from the last month or so, and just notice any recurring activities, obligations that leave you feeling drained or resentful. Are there meetings you dread? Events you feel like you have to go to but don't actually enjoy? Maybe volunteer commitments that are stretching you too thin?
Okay, so once you've identified those energy-draining commitments, then what? Saying no can be tough, especially for people pleasers.
Oh, it takes practice. But remember, saying no doesn't have to be confrontational or anything. It can be as simple as politely declining an invitation, delegating a task, or suggesting an alternative that works better for you. And the more you practice, the easier it gets.
And the more empowered you feel to create a life that actually reflects your priorities, your values, it's about taking back control of your time, your energy, and using them in a way that feels authentic.
Exactly. And it's not selfish. It's about honoring your own needs, making
Yeah.
sure you have the capacity to show up for the things and people that are truly important to you.
Okay, we've decluttered our spaces, our commitments. Now for the big one, maybe the most challenging, relationships.
Relationships are tricky, right? And we got to acknowledge that not all of them are meant to last forever. Sometimes letting go, even though it's painful, can be the most loving thing for both people.
It's so easy to get caught up in the guilt, the fear when it comes to relationships, worrying about hurting someone else's feelings or being alone. But sometimes holding on to a relationship that's no longer serving us, that can actually do more damage in the long run.
It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. No matter how hard you push, it's just not going to work. And you'll probably damage both the peg and the hole in the process.
So how do we know when it's time to let go? What are some red flags?
One big one is if the relationship consistently leaves you feeling drained, depleted, resentful. Do you always feel like you're walking on eggshells around this person? Do you have to censor yourself, pretend to be someone you're not? Are your conversations filled with more conflict than connection?
Those are some serious warning signs. What if it's a long-term relationship? Family? Close friend? It can feel so much harder to let go of those, even if they're not good for us anymore.
That's right. Those relationships often carry a lot of history, baggage. But it's crucial to remember we always have the choice to redefine those relationships. We can set boundaries, limit contact, even step away entirely if we need to protect our own well-being.
And letting go doesn't have to be a big dramatic thing. It could be as simple as spending less time together, setting firmer boundaries, even just letting the relationship naturally fade.
Exactly. And sometimes just shifting how we think about a relationship can make a huge difference. Instead of trying to change the other person, force them to fit into a mold, we can choose to accept them for who they are. Appreciate the unique things they bring, even if those things don't align with our current needs.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. Finding peace within the relationship, even if it's not perfect. Recognizing that all relationships, even the tough ones, can teach us about ourselves, about life.
Definitely. And sometimes the ones that challenge us most, those are the ones that give us the biggest chances to grow and transform. They help us develop compassion, empathy, understanding for others, and for ourselves.
So decluttering relationships is about making room for healthier, more authentic connections. Recognizing we deserve to be surrounded by people who support us, uplift us, inspire us to be our best selves.
It's about cultivating a sense of belonging, creating a community that nourishes us and helps us thrive.
Wow, we covered a lot in this part. Physical spaces, commitments, even relationships. Before we jump into the final part of this deep dive, something just occurred to me. As we're decluttering all these external things, shouldn't we also be mindful of what we're bringing in?
That's a fantastic point. Decluttering isn't just about letting go, it's also about choosing what we allow into our lives.
Like becoming the curator of our own lives.
Yeah.
Carefully picking the experiences, the relationships, even the information that shapes our thoughts and feelings, our actions.
You got it. It's about asking, does this serve me? Does this bring me joy? Does this match my values, my aspirations? And if it's a no, well, then we have the power to say no, thank you, and move on.
Recognizing that our time, energy, attention, those are precious resources. We get to choose how we use them.
And when we start making those conscious choices, we create space for the truly important things to blossom and grow.
So it's not just decluttering. It's about building a life that feels spacious, intentional, aligned with our true selves.
And it's a journey, one that happens one step at a time, with self-compassion, a willingness to try things out and figure out what works best for each of us.
Before we wrap up part 2, any thoughts on how decluttering these external areas might set us up for the mental decluttering we'll be focusing on next time?
Oh, for sure, I think.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive on decluttering. We've tackled the physical stuff, those commitments that just weren't serving us, even took a good look at relationships. But now, it's time to go inward. Time to explore the world of, wait for it, mental decluttering.
We've been talking about how our physical space, even our commitments, impact our mental clarity, right?
Yeah.
But what about when the clutter is coming from inside?
Ooh, good point.
We're talking limiting beliefs, that constant negative self-talk, those worries that just won't quit.
Ugh, yeah, those are the worst.
They can be even trickier because you can't always see them, but they hold us back in huge ways.
It's like imagine having a closet full of amazing outfits, but you always reach for the same old sweats because you just don't feel confident enough to try anything new.
Oh, that's such a good analogy.
That's mental clutter.
Yeah.
It keeps us stuck in these comfortable but ultimately limiting patterns.
And the thing is, those limiting beliefs, those negative stories we keep telling ourselves, they're often just stories, not actual truths.
Really?
The good news is we have the power to rewrite them, to challenge those beliefs and create a more empowering, fulfilling mental space.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how do we even start identifying those mental blocks? They can be so ingrained we don't even notice them anymore. They're like part of the background noise of our minds.
It's true, they can be sneaky. One way to bring those subconscious beliefs to the surface is to pay attention to your self-talk.
Ah, okay.
What are you saying to yourself throughout the day? Are you always criticizing yourself? Doubting your abilities? Focusing on the negative?
So it's like becoming a detective of our own thoughts. We got to look for clues, patterns that are driving our emotions and behaviors.
Exactly. And once you start paying attention, you might be surprised how much negativity is hiding under there.
Well, I bet. But isn't that kind of like judging ourselves?
No, it's not about judgment. It's about awareness. Bringing those thoughts to the surface so we can challenge them. Ask ourselves, is this thought really true? Is there another way to look at this? What evidence do I have?
I love that. It's like holding up those negative thoughts to a mirror and saying, hold on, who said you get to decide how I feel?
Exactly. You're taking back your power.
We're reclaiming the authority to choose the thoughts that help us and letting go of the ones that hold us back.
And as you start challenging those negative thoughts, you create space to replace them with more positive, empowering ones. Instead of, I'm not good enough, maybe as, I'm capable and I'm learning every day, or I deserve love and respect just as I am.
It's like reframing things, shifting our mindset from scarcity and limitation to abundance and possibility. And that totally connects with the gratitude practice we were talking about earlier, right?
Oh, 100%.
The more we focus on what we're grateful for, the less room there is for all that negativity.
Gratitude is like a mental detox. It clears out the negativity and lets us focus on the good stuff.
And as we do this, we start to see the world in a whole new light.
Right, like you're training your brain to look for the good, to find that silver lining.
Exactly. So We've got letting go of those limiting beliefs, reframing our thoughts, and gratitude. What else can we do to declutter our minds? Create that spacious, peaceful mental space.
What we feed our minds is crucial. Just like we nourish our bodies with healthy food, we need to nourish our minds with positive, uplifting information.
Oh, I get it. So instead of scrolling through social media, comparing ourselves to everyone, maybe we spend time reading an inspiring book
Mm.
or listen to an uplifting podcast like this one.
Exactly. Or even spending time in nature, connecting to something bigger than ourselves.
It's all about being mindful of what we let into our mental space.
Yes, we get to choose the information, the stories, the experiences that shape how we think and feel.
Like becoming curators of our own mental museums, carefully selecting the exhibits that inspire us, uplift us, empower us.
Love that. And just as important as choosing what we let in is recognizing what we need to let go of, those outdated beliefs, negative patterns, even old stories we're still clinging to.
Oh, that's a good point. Sometimes we hold on to those old stories even when they hurt us, even when they stop us from reaching our potential.
It's like wearing shoes that are too small. Maybe they were comfy once, but now, blisters, holding you back.
Letting go can be tough, but ultimately, it's freeing. Letting go of the past, making space for new, more powerful stories to come through.
That's the heart of it.
So mental decluttering isn't a one-time thing, right? It's an ongoing practice.
Exactly.
It's about always checking in with ourselves, noticing the thoughts and beliefs that are shaping our experiences, making conscious choices about what we nurture, what we release.
And as you do this, you become more aware of your own mind, of the power it has to shape your reality.
It's like becoming the CEO of our own minds, choosing what we think, feel, believe. We're not victims of our thoughts anymore. We're the creators of our own experience.
Powerful stuff. And as we declutter our minds, cultivate a more positive, empowering mindset, that's when a whole world of possibilities opens
We
up.
start seeing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Hmm.
Setbacks, those are just lessons learned.
Failures, stepping stones to success.
Yes, you're finally free to step into your full potential. No more being weighed down by those limiting beliefs and all that negative self-talk. We can finally rock those amazing outfits in our mental closet.
Exactly. And the beauty is this journey of mental decluttering, it's ongoing. It's not about reaching some finish line. It's about embracing the journey itself.
So as we wrap up our deep dive on decluttering, be kind to yourself. Celebrate the progress you make, no matter how small. And remember, you have the power to create a life that feels authentic, fulfilling, and totally aligned with who you truly are.
And remember, as you start decluttering your mind, your life, you're not alone. We're all in this together, supporting each other. So go out there and create the life you deserve, a life filled with clarity, purpose, and joy.
And keep decluttering. Your mind, body, and spirit will thank you.